How's it guys, this is Dayvy FPL and welcome back to another Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video we're going to be talking about the Game Week 2 preview. We're going to be going over all talking points relating to Game Week 2, starting off with the Man City / Man United options that you should be looking to get into your FPL sides in the upcoming game weeks. We're then going to shift the attention to the Spurs assets and what to do with them before we finally conclude with the captaincy for Game Week 2. Not going to be talking about Mo Salah in this video, stay tuned for that in the team selection coming up on Thursday. But if you want to kind of know all about Game Week 2, hopefully you enjoy this video. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. So a new season calls for a new sponsor, but here on the Dayvy FPL channel, we like our old. So I've brought back the old sponsor, OneFootball, but with a completely new revamped app. Yes, OneFootball has gone over a complete marketing revamp, new logo, new everything. I've checked it out, looks really good. They kind of took the old app, but just made it better. So I'm really appreciative of that. If you want to go check them out, link down in the description below to go download the app. If you don't know who they are, they're the biggest app on iOS and Android, so go check them out. I personally use them, so I can recommend them from a personal level. So before we touch on the talking points, I want to give you guys a reminder about the EFL Cup. Yes, there's going to be English Cup games this week. Luckily, it's not many of the big boys, inverted commas. It's a lot of the smaller teams. However, Everton and Wolves both play, so just keep your eyes on that. In terms of injury news especially, I doubt a player like Calvert-Lewin or Raul Jimenez are going to be playing in that EFL Cup game, but they could, so just keep your eyes on that. The other thing I wanted to remind you guys about are the price rises have started. Last night we had our first price rises. William and Bamford both rose in price, and I think Pepe dropped in price. The price rises predicted for tonight are Bruno Fernandes and De Bruyne going up. Hopefully this video gives you some indication of which kind of players to pick, and maybe you can catch those price rises before they happen. But let's get into the talking points. So the first thing we're going to be talking about, as we usually do on these previews, is going to be our watch list. I didn't only pick these players because of them being in good form, but because Everton overall looked really good. That performance against Spurs filled me with confidence, and I really do think with these new signings, Everton are going to have a relatively good season. And at these budget options of 7 and 7.5 million, Calvert-Lewin and James Rodriguez come in with great value potential. So Calvert-Lewin managed to get a goal against Spurs. James didn't get any returns. However, he looked really good, really looking like he's adapting to this Premier League after such a short time. And I do think at 7.5 million in that midfield, he's going to be a great value. They both got about 90 minutes. I don't think there's much to tell about the minutes, as these players should be playing every single game week just because of their quality. Then we have Raul Jimenez, a usual suspect on these watch lists. I don't know why, maybe it's just because I don't usually buy him, but at 8.5 million, he comes in the same price as Danny Ings, managed to get a goal against Sheffield United, a fixture that we kind of thought would be a tough one, but Wolves kind of made it look quite easy, scoring 2 goals in that opening 10 minutes with Raul Jimenez being on target. He managed to miss quite a sitter towards the end of the game, which is a little bit disappointing, but the thing with Wolves is they have really nice fixtures after Game Week 2, so he's on the watch list and probably will be for the next game week as well, as we look to bring him post Game Week 2. Maybe in Game Week 4, as I think Man City players will probably be the priority in Game Week 3, but I think Raul Jimenez will have another good season and Wolves will overall. So this is the watch list. There are a couple of other players, including defenders, that I did like. Reece James had another cracker of a game, and I think with the form that he's showing, especially with those goals, he's definitely going to be in that starting 11. The only thing that worries me a little bit is when he does hit a little bit of rough form. I think Azpilicueta will come in and slot there for some stability if he's not proving to be as defensive at the back. But I think for the foreseeable future, Reece James is a good pick. I've just highlighted the attackers here because I think they provide a little bit more excitement. So now getting onto the main topic of today's Game Week 2 preview, the Man United / Man City options that you should be looking at. We're going to first talk about the Man United options, as I do think they're going to be the priority going into Game Week 2 because of that lovely Crystal Palace at home fixture. Now, Crystal Palace actually surprised a lot of us, managing to win their opening game 1-0 and keeping a clean sheet. And if you can remember, towards the end of last season, Crystal Palace also put in a good shift against Manchester United. I just think with this kind of refreshed break that United have had, they're going to be too strong for Crystal Palace, and I'm kind of hoping that this is going to be the start of that Manchester United bandwagon that we usually do have. So the 4 players I've highlighted here are Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood, and Bruno Fernandes. You could also look at a defender. I just think there's not going to be too many defensive transfers this week, considering the attackers are usually a little bit more better value, and if you're going to be captaining them, they're probably going to be your priority. So my personal favorites from this Manchester United side, first up is going to be Anthony Martial, playing at that striker position for Manchester United last season. I think he's going to continue in in that role. And if United start in that formation with only one up front, he's going to be an insane value. If they start with a two up front, which has been kind of rumored with Donny van der Beek coming in, and Marcus Rashford and Martial will probably be that top two. But I just think at 9 million, you're kind of saving a little bit of money in that forward department, and you can easily upgrade Ings or downgrade Timo Werner to Martial, and I think he's going to be good value this season. My next favorite is going to be Bruno Fernandes. Comes in at 10.5, which is a little bit more expensive than he was last season, but you know Bruno Fernandes, he's on those penalties, those highly important penalties to United that were last season. I think they're going to get a couple of penalties this season again, and I think Bruno Fernandes should convert those with ease. So he comes in as my second favorite option. I always did like Mason Greenwood, but just with the recent antics in the international football and in the press, I do think it's going to hinder him a little bit, but I do think Ollie's going to want to get him out on the pitch as soon as possible, because you know what the best reply to media reports is? Performances on the pitch. So I think Ollie's going to put him in the lineup as soon as possible, whenever he's ready. I know there is a potential maybe ban considering what happened in Iceland, but I think that's kind of been blown over a little bit. So he should be fine if he is fit to start against Crystal Palace. It's just going to be a question, as I said, which formation Ollie goes for in the end. Marcus Rashford I've spoken about. I think he's probably my fourth favorite option, but I do think we're overlooking him a little bit. I just kind of am looking at Greenwood because of that 7.5 million mark. I just think if he does play every single game week, he's just going to be such good value. Personally, in my own team, I am looking at Martial and Bruno Fernandes a little bit more than the others, because as I said, Martial is a little bit cheaper than Rashford, and Bruno is just that main talisman, I feel, and he's going to be involved in a lot of those United goals. So the next players we're going to be talking about are the Man City assets. I've only highlighted two here because I think these are going to be the main two assets we look at. It's going to be Raheem Sterling and Kevin De Bruyne. So the reason I'm talking about them after Manchester United is I think in game week 2, we're going to prioritize the Man United options, and then in game week 3, we're going to be looking at the Man City options. I really don't mind not having a Man City option against Wolves. It also gives us a little bit more time to assess how City are lining up, if they're going for the same formations they did last season, or if we're seeing some rotation, maybe some new players coming in. I do think Raheem Sterling and Kevin De Bruyne will be nailed in that lineup because I just think they have such good quality. Kevin De Bruyne is my personal favorite. However, Raheem Sterling is also a good option, and I think maybe a little bit more explosive than Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne is just my favorite because he's just so consistent. If you look at those fixtures after Leicester, which to be honest, Leicester didn't look that great against West Brom, they have Leeds, Arsenal and West Ham. Leeds and Arsenal should be quite an attacking lineup, so I'm expecting a couple goals in that, which could be good for Raheem Sterling and Kevin De Bruyne, but I definitely think I'll be bringing one of these guys in for Aubameyang come game week 3. You can kind of go for wherever you want. Maybe you want a cheaper option, maybe a defender, that could also be viable, but I would recommend potentially looking at Raheem Sterling or De Bruyne as your favorite option, because I think the ownership is going to skyrocket from now till game week 3. The next talking point is the Spurs asset. So the Spurs asset was a highly contested point in last week's video. I kind of said that I don't understand why people are taking a Spurs asset as a 1-week punt, because that Everton game is going to be quite tough. That's actually what ended up happening, so I'm just thankful that I managed to get one prediction right over quite a disastrous game week. But if you do have your Spurs assets still and you're not considering transferring them out, I think that's perfectly fine. Give your Spurs assets maybe Southampton and Newcastle at home and assess how they're lining up, and then you could always just keep them for after that Manchester United away game, because they faced West Ham, Burnley, Brighton and West Brom, which is pretty good fixes to be honest. I've highlighted Son and Ali here, but you could also have Kane. Kane is probably the more appealing transfer out because you can easily take him to Anthony Martial, which I think is a good transfer. But with Son and Ali, if you don't have any other players that you want to lose, you could look at taking them out for United and City options. I don't like that option, as I said, because I don't think you should be taking a 1-week punt on them, but I think if you have no other fires to put out, you might as well just lose the Spurs option, because the team looked overall a little bit lackluster against Everton, and I do think that form could continue into Southampton and Newcastle and Manchester United away, which are going to be quite tough fixtures. So the last talking point we're going to be going over is captaincy. So I do think the most popular captain this game week is 100% going to be Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. I'm expecting him to sign his new Arsenal contract, which has been in the works for quite a while now, and I think that's going to give him that slight boost before West Ham at home to just pip him over the edge there and get a good return. 100% the most highly owned player out of these three, so I do expect most players to put the armband on him, and I think it's going to be quite a good option. I think the most two highly captained teams are definitely going to be Arsenal and Manchester United, with Bruno Fernandes, the most highly owned Manchester United player currently, definitely going to be in that captaincy mix. They face Crystal Palace at home, another home fixture which is quite appealing, and with United they're going to want to get off to a hot start, so I think Bruno Fernandes is going to do quite well with a Manchester United team winning in the end. But I think I'm going to go for Aubameyang personally for my own team, as that was just kind of the plan, captain Aubameyang for the first 2 game weeks, and then we can transfer him out to a Man City option. If you want to go a little bit more differential, you can go for Calvert-Lewin, who spoke about how good Everton looked, and I think they're going to continue that form against West Bromwich Albion at home, and I'm expecting Calvert-Lewin to do quite well. So if you want to go differential, maybe go for an Everton asset, but I think if you want to go safety, definitely a Manchester United or an Arsenal asset, with Aubameyang and Bruno Fernandes' ownership being so high. So that's going to wrap up the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please like it if you did, and subscribe if you're new, have not subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys on Thursday for a highly anticipated team selection, I'm sure. Comment down below your questions. I'll be replying to them, and I'll be checking you guys on my Twitter page at DayvyFPL and in that Thursday team selection. I'll be signing off. This has been DayvyFPL, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.